In today's tutorial we are going to do this fabulous mood scarf, and this is like the moss stitch. There's actually several names for this particular kind of stitch. Regardless of the name, I'm going to show you how to do it, and that's coming up next. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to do this mood scarf, and the colors are very subjective. You don't have to change colors if you wish. The only secret to this is that everything is in sets of 2. So no matter what you do with this particular scarf, even if you want to make it into a full-size afghan, as long as you keep it in sets of 2, you're always going to be able to work this out and have an amazing project. Within today's tutorial you will need a 5mm size H crochet hook, just like you see on camera today. And this is really quite simple. You can see that there's really only 2 rows of instructions here, and once you get started, the world is your oyster. So let's begin to decipher this pattern next. Before we begin the actual yarn tutorial itself, just keep a note over here is that we have some special notes. Just like you see, it says mark the RS, and you can always see the instructions right here. It says mark the RS with the safety pin, and I just use some spare yarn so that you're always changing color on the right side, so you can actually identify the right side. Once you get started on this and you don't know what side is right and what side is the wrong side, it makes a bit of a difference. So I'm going to be able to cover that too within today's tutorial. So let's begin with some yarn, 5mm crochet hook today, size H. And we're going to start off with a slip knot. Remember that we have slower tutorials available on learning to crochet right from the very basics if you need that. So if you're doing it as per the scarf, it says chaining of 34. But if you want to make this particular style into anything longer, like an afghan or a tea towel, anything, as long as you keep it in sets of 2, you're always going to be successful. So let's just yarn over, and what I do is go 1 and 2. So if you're doing the scarf itself, chain 34, but if you want to improvise, just do 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and make a decision whether it's long enough for you. So 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. Just like this. And so it becomes really quite easy to be able to follow. So just keep doing that. I'm going to do it a couple more times, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and you're just going to do that, and let's get on. So let's begin the foundation row, and then we can start on rows number 1 and 2. So to begin the foundation row, as long as you kept your things in sets of 1 and 2, it's always going to be able to work out for you. So let's begin. We're going to go from second chain from the hook, so you just count back. So here's the first chain, and here's the second, and you're going to insert your hook and make that into a single crochet. So it's a single crochet, second chain from the hook. It says to chain 1 and skip 1 chain, so you're going to skip the next chain available to you and go to the second one over and single crochet, and that's all you're going to do for this entire row. So we're going to chain 1, skip 1 stitch, or skip 1 chain, and go to the second over for a single crochet. So chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the next, and you're going to do that all the way down your particular project, whether it's a scarf or an afghan, doesn't matter. Okay, so let's just get you to the other side. So mine's just a small tutorial example today, and so because you've gone in sets of 2 like I asked you to, you'll always end up with the right stitch at the end. So chain 1, and the very final stitch will be just 1 single crochet, so you don't have to sweat that out very much. Okay, so let's begin row number 1. So let's turn our work. So there's going to be rows number 1 and 2, and they're going to be repeating throughout this whole thing. So we already have our foundation row started. So this is row number 1. So you'll have to do this every other row. So we're going to chain 1, and it says to do 1 single crochet into the first one. So the first single crochet is going to be 1 single crochet. Okay, and then it says to put 1 single crochet in the next chain 1 space. So this space that you see here, okay, right there, that is going to be also a single crochet. So here's where the fun part starts. Now that we have our edge dealt with, everything now beyond until the next side that you run into is all going to be the same. So we're going to chain 1, and you're going to single crochet into the next chain 1 space, just like that. Okay, chain 1, single crochet, and jump to the next chain 1 space. Okay, chain 1, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, and you do that all the way across until you get to the very end of this particular row. So we're coming up close to the end of the row. We just got to pay attention. So we just have 1 chain 1 space left. So we chain 1 first, single crochet into that chain one space, and then we single crochet into the final single crochet. And this is how you do row number 1. Okay, so row number 2 starts off differently, and that's why there's 2 rows, and let me show you how to do that next. So let's turn our work and go for row number 2. So row number 2 starts off slightly different, and the reason for it is that we have 2 single crochets directly beside each other at this point. So in row number 2, what happens is that we have to create that gapping space. Do you see how there's one right underneath, right where my thumb is moving? Right there. We have to recreate that up here. So we're going to chain 1 first, and then single crochet into the same one. So there's your edge. And now this time we're going to chain 1 and just immediately jump to the next chain 1 space. That's how easy that is. So this is row number 2, so chain 1, jump to the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, jump to the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, single crochet in the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, and you're coming to close to the other side now. Now you still have a chain 1 space there. Crochet or chain 1, and then you're going to single crochet into the final. Before you continue, I want you to mark now that we've finished row number 2, is that this should be the right side of the project. So just insert your hook into a particular side here, and just grab either a safety pin or extra yarn and just mark this side. So whenever you change colors, you should always be changing color with this facing you. Okay, so the new color will be going in this direction. Let's turn our work and let's move up to row number 1 once again, and let's show you how to do that. So we're just going to tighten everything back onto your hook. So we start off with chaining 1 single crochet into the first single crochet, and now this is row number 1, so the next chain 1 space we're going to fill it in with a single crochet. Then we're going to chain 1 and come into the next chain 1 space. And then chain 1, it's all just single crochet stuff. Okay, chain 1, and you just keep filling in those chain 1 spaces. Okay, and then we're going to come all the way to the other side of your project, and you're going to fill in that final chain 1 space, and then single crochet right into the very next one. So that was row number 1. So let me show you how to change color. So at this particular point we are ready to change color. We need to make sure when we change color that the right side that is marked, you can see it's on this side, is facing away from you. And let's just trim off our yarn and let's just change the color. So how I do it is I just trim the yarn. Okay, and you can just pull through. And what I'd like to do is just weave it in some edge work here, and it will get stuck underneath your next row anyway. You could also use a darning needle if you wished, if you want to really secure it in. We also have tutorials available on how to do that. So let's turn our work and grab our next color. So I'm going to go. Okay, so now with the right side facing me, and you can see where the right side is, I'm going to grab my next yarn, and this is going to be the neon yellow, and I'm going to start it off with a slip knot, and this is how I prefer to start. So if you remember that we finished off on row number 2, so the next row is going to be row number 1 once again. So we're going to just attach it to the very beginning. So you just come into the first single crochet, take the yarn straggler and the yarn leading to the ball, just kind of pull through and through to join it like a slip stitch join. And what I want you to do is take the straggler one more time and the yarn leading to the ball and just pull it through one, and that is your chain 1, and let that straggler now fall out of the way. So we're going to single crochet into the first stitch just like that, and we're going to follow the pattern. So this is row number 1, so if you remember it was chain 1 and we go into immediately to the next chain 1 space. Okay, so you're skipping over that single crochet just like this, chain 1, and then just keep going into every one of the chain 1 spaces. So chain 1, a single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, a single crochet space, and you're going to do that all the way down until you get to the other side. And then what you're going to do then is that chain 1, and you'll have 2 single crochets left in a row. You're just immediately going to just do the single crochet into the final one. So let's begin row number 2 again. So just turn your work. Okay, don't worry about the straggler. We can just trim that out afterward. It's not a big deal. I've got it. I've taught you in a way that you can safely trim that and it will not fall out. So just chain 1, single crochet into the first one, and this is row number 2, so we're going to single crochet into the first chain 1 space, then chain 1, and then just jump over and do all your chain 1 spaces. So single crochet, chain 1, and keep doing that. So you can see now that I've changed the colors, you can see that dropping down just like it shows in the photograph. It's kind of neat and how it does it. So when you get to the other side, chain 1, there's going to be another chain 1 space here, and then you single crochet into the final. Okay, so turn your work. This is row number 1 again, so chain 1, single crochet in the first one, chain 1, and just come into the first chain 1 space. So as long as you can remember that there's 2 different rows on how you start, this is a really no-brainer. You can put it down and pick up your project as often as you wish. And this is called the moss stitch to some people. Other people have other terminology. It's just really a beautiful stitch. You can do a lot of temperature and mood scarves like this. It's really quite fun. Remember that there's 2 crochets in a row at the end, so just make sure you go into the final one like there. So if you're doing the scarf for this particular project, it's about 70 inches long, and that does not include the fringe that's added to the outside. It's really quite amazing. You can go as big as you want to. You can use this for entire afghans if you wish. If you want your scarf to be much wider, just keep it in sets of 2. Either way, it's a really great opportunity. So that's how you do it. Okay, so that's how you do this scarf, and this is called the moss stitch. This is part of the mood scarf for the February 2016 for the Caron color line, and it's really quite amazing. Till next time, it's Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. Have a great day, and we'll see you again real soon.